All right, so we're starting. We're still going to wait for good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. We're still waiting for one person to join us. We've had a fun morning of technical difficulties. Apparently, poor Donna and Joanna are both on bloody telephoning into this darn system, so I apologize for everybody in advance. Welcome to another one of the webinar series from Wiser. We're going to have an interesting conversation today with reference to the holidays. We're obviously about to hit holiday madness. In the US, we've got Thanksgiving coming up rapidly like a flipping juggernaut. Millions of people are still traveling despite all sorts of interesting bans and all that stuff. And then we have another half a dozen or a dozen more holidays coming at us in December. So now we thought would be a good time to have a good conversation about how we talk about safety and security and the wonderful world of all the issues that we're trying to deal with around the family dining table without putting everybody off their food and without causing a mass riot at the same time. So without further ado, I am going to shut up and I'm going to let my the various amazing people that we have introduce themselves. I'm going to start to my left with Donna. And Donna, if you would like to introduce yourself, go for it.
Hi, Chris. Thanks. I'm Donna Smith. I'm a marketing director at Atlantic Data Security. Been in the cybersecurity industry for over a dozen so years, so it's very versed in my household, and it's a common topic. And I'm a veteran shopper, so I'm a pro at that part.
Nice. Joanna, go for it. Are you on mute or something?
Yeah, we can't hear you, Joanna.
I apologize. Hi, everyone. My name is Joanna Udo, and I am the creator of Bridges in Tech, an organization that helps women of color start and grow in technology careers, and cybersecurity is one of those fields. I also hold a network security degree, and I've worked in various IT roles over the last 10 years, and I love shopping, and I help small business owners run their business securely as well as grow their business. So I'm sort of all over the place. So I come from a place of an avid shopper, a cybersecurity enthusiast, and a business coach that's telling my clients to send all the emails that look like phishing emails so that they can get sales. So should be exciting.
Nice. Dana, you're up.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dana Mantilia, and I am the founder of Identity Protection Planning. And I am not a technical person. What I do is I take somewhat complex items and then break them down and do videos on them for cybersecurity and identity theft, and try to help regular people learn how they can protect themselves a little bit.
Yeah, something we definitely need. Gabrielle, you're up. Hopefully Al will get in and join us fairly soon as well.
Yeah, so I'm the founder of Wiser, and working towards a vision where online safety becomes a basic life skill. So this is sort of what we hope to achieve in the next 100 years.
We're not going to last that long, are we? Unfortunately, I mean, this is the biggest problem. I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on. I mean, it's a madhouse out there at the moment. Mm-hmm. So let's just leap straight into this one. We have, obviously, the holidays are coming up. We are either physically or virtually going to be sitting around the table with friends, family, and all the other places. So from the Rugrats all the way up to the grandparents. This is something we can't keep to a technology, people. This is something we have got to somehow or other get out to the masses. Somehow or other, we've got to get 7.5 billion people on this planet to understand that there's a bunch of freaking scams out there, and what the hell do we do about it? So I'm really interested from everybody's perspective about what they're personally going to do, and then from a professional standpoint. Dana, I'm going to start with you if you don't mind, because this is your world to begin with. Let's be honest.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't know exactly where you want me to go with this, but as far as talking to everybody from the grandparents down to the kids, it's something we definitely need to be doing. And we have to remember that I think what's always happened with any kind of cybersecurity training that anybody's even been exposed to is it's typically coming from the IT department and working downwards, where the IT people, I mean, you're all very technical people, you're on an intelligence level that is, your brain thinks very, very differently than a regular person who might be a secretary at an office who may click on something, or a grandparent who may not have been exposed to much technology at all, and even out of the kids that are growing up with this stuff, you know, in their hands. So that's what it is. It's finding out the different way that we can communicate to them, and especially about the scams too. The scams are, as you know, they're just terrible. People message me all the time on LinkedIn, and they feel like they want to tell me. They're embarrassed. They haven't told anybody else, but they feel like they need to at least tell somebody. And that's why they keep happening again and again and again. And then what we need to do is tell people that once they do get scammed, then they get on the scam list. So now people, they sell that list to other people. So now, ooh, this is a hot one, call this one. They fell for my scam, they'll probably fall for your scam. So then these poor people are getting hit again and again. So I agree with you 100%. How exactly we go about bringing up those conversations, I don't really know, but I know it has to not be intimidating for everybody to be able to understand, so that they don't, because we tune out when things get too complex in our brains. So that's what I would say.
So you hit a good point, and Donna, I wouldn't mind getting your thoughts on this one, because to me, it has to come from, we've got to be the ones initiating the message because we're seeing all the problems, but it's got to be translated. It's got to be taken out of geek speak into, it's almost a marketing thing. It's almost like, hey, how do we actually put this across? So Donna, I'm interested in your thoughts on this one. Give me some ideas about how are you going to talk to your crew?
I think it's easy in my household because I don't know, shopping's a big topic, especially in the holidays. So for Thanksgiving or even December time holidays, shopping is a big deal for all of us, unfortunately. But so I think it's easy to have family over and say, oh, well, what are your Black Friday plans? What are your this? And that's how we kind of kickstart the conversation. Black Friday is going to be a big topic at our Thanksgiving table, and we'll kind of use that and leverage it to start talking about the phishing scams, the online deals, because everyone's pretty hyped up about it, and there's usually someone in the house who wants, you know, to go online and get those deals. We're big online shoppers. We're not, you know, physical store shoppers, especially this year. So it's a good transition for us to start talking about those things with them.
Joanna, some thoughts on this one?
So similar to Donna, there isn't really a lot of people in my household because I'm an only child and there's my mom, and she doesn't do online shopping at all. But what I do is, as my friends send just deals, right? We have group chats, we have Facebook groups, and people are sharing these deals that are coming up all the time. My first question is always like, how did you find out about the deal, right? Before I even click on it, because it's always a funny link. And believe it or not, there are actual legitimate links out there that look like scam, but they are real. And so I always want to know, like, how did you find out about this? Did somebody else that purchased this item tell you about it? Or was it one of those pop-ups when you were on a website searching for something else and this came up? Then, you know, that's kind of a red flag if it is real or not. And I try to tell them, I say, you know, this website you just sent me is not secure, and this is how you tell if it is secure or not. So I'd be really careful about purchasing from this site. Oh, look, they don't have any reviews. Probably don't buy from there because, you know, you don't know if it is a scam or not. But as a person that also supports small business owners, I make sure that I'm going through and doing like audits on their sites to make sure that their site doesn't look spammy, that they have they are secure, they have SSL installed and all that certificates installed. Because a lot of times business owners just start this thing to start their own shop and they just don't know any better. So it's a double-edged sword because we're going, hey, don't click on links, but at the same time, there are legitimate businesses that are trying to sell something. They just didn't have the right tools. So I'm tackling it in both fronts and helping my clients be secure so they don't end up on that spam list, but also telling my friends how to tell a secure site. And that's my little contribution to the world.
Yeah, there's a ton of awareness. To which point, Gabrielle, I mean, that's the stuff you and I have been bashing on for the last goodness knows how long, and we're ramping up with the silly season. What we got on the plate for the next month and a half?
You know, one tip that I usually do with my kids and with other people that I talk about this topic, you know, I don't want to be like a preacher and, you know, like be that teacher. I like to create a conversation. So instead of me being on stage, how do I get them on stage? And the way I do that is, you know, for example, with my kids, like, so what should I look out for? I give them the stage. You know, I want them to talk, because at the end of the day, it's more about the conversation, because when they talk about it, they start to think about it, and it creates, you know, people love to talk in general. You know, a lot of my kids love to talk. So I just give them that opportunity to teach me, and, you know, and then I can add my, you know, my 2 cents. So instead of, you know, trying to tell them, be careful of this, be careful of that, and they just listen to me, I try to, you know, create that conversation. That's something that works very well. And I always love to tell stories where people go like, you know, I didn't think about it, you know. One example, because what happens is that a lot of people feel they know how to spot a scam. So they like, I won't get scammed, you know, I know to spot phishing emails. But, and here is a true story, by the way, you know, a friend of mine, her WhatsApp was hacked, and from that WhatsApp that was hacked, a message was sent to all her contacts, including her kids. So, you know, the kid got a message from the mom saying, I sent you a code by mistake. Can you please send it back to me? You know, I used your phone instead of mine. Now, for a kid, that sounds reasonable, right? Like, you know, I got a message from my mom. And this is the type of examples where that when I share with people, they go, I would have fallen for this one, you know, because you usually think I would not fall for, you know, a phishing email, but would you fall for a scam that your mom sent you? So
Got
I
it.
think it really has to resonate.
Yeah. Ow. Damn, we got you finally. You're on mute. You're on mute. Come off mute.
It's a Wednesday, 100%.
Bloody good to have you join us, sir. Bloody
So
good.
sorry.
No, hey, it's technology. It's 2020. Believe me, if freaking Godzilla walked across the back of the damn screen, it wouldn't surprise me at this point in time.
You know, crazy morning. 6 inches of snow. Wasn't necessarily
Oh,
ready
shit.
for that
I
this morning.
looked out of the window and I'm like,
Yeah.
So everybody that's on the audience, Al and I are in Colorado. I wasn't expecting snow this morning.
So a little crazy, but sorry. Thank you. Glad I'm here finally.
Totally. All right. So we'll pause for a sec. Al, do me a favor, introduce yourself, say hi to everybody, and then we'll just
Sure.
leave back.
Sure. My name is Al Gardner. Sorry for being late again, guys. I'm Vice President of IT and Security for Inspirato. Inspirato is a global hospitality brand. Been IT leader for many years now across different verticals, including banking and telecom and a couple of others. Started very early back in the COVID days. Those of you who remember ISPs, about 25 plus years ago. So been in the industry a little bit. My responsibility here is everything infrastructure and security falls under my purview. Good friend of Chris, worked with him for years, the best guy in the world. And when he mentioned this, was glad to do it because all too often security is spoken on a high level, and you have to put it in English and make it usable so that it can be effective. And so I thought it was a worthwhile conversation, and thanks for having me.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Dana, I'm going to hit you up on this one because again, it's one of those things. It's when we talk about security-related stuff, we tend to approach it from a position of knowledge. Like, oh, you know, how would you fall for this? Why would you fall for this? Yes, of course, this obviously looks like a scam, it feels like a scam. How do we change that? How do we do it differently? How do we approach the people that, like Donna said, they're just going to go online shopping, like Joanna said, it's like, I see the thing, I'm going to go for it, or some. How do we change the message? What can we do better?
Well, I really like Gabriel said, this has to become a life skill that everybody needs to learn about it, whether they're learning about it in school or they're learning about it on an online course. It's something people need to realize that they need to learn about it, number one. And then we need to somehow get the IT people together with people that can translate into a language that is then going to be comprehended by all the different levels and ages of the kids and the seniors, because the seniors, like I mentioned before, they have not been exposed to much technology, and the kids, that's all they're exposed to is technology. And there's just as much risk, probably, sometimes you say more with these kids because they're so trusting of things. Maybe the seniors are not as trusting, but they fall for a lot of things. So I think that's it. It's got to be translated into a language that everybody can comprehend. And then we have to find some way to distribute the information.
What resonates? Is there any one thing that you have found, because you've done this for a while, is there any one thing that you found resonates better with certain types of demographics from an age standpoint, location standpoint, anything that we can use more effectively to help get that message across?
Well, I think everybody is, people that have kids, when I put my videos out there, anything that has obviously kid related, that they message me and say that they showed the video to their daughter, or they spoke to their son about that. Getting access to the seniors, that I've only been able to really do through some of the Medicare advisors that I do some training with. I don't really have a platform to reach them directly, and I don't really have a platform to reach the kids directly, except through my kids and their their friends. But there's a great, I don't know if everybody saw Social Dilemma on Netflix.
Yeah,
it's a great show, and I tell everybody and anybody that they should watch that show. And then when I watched it, at the end of it, I contacted the producers and said, listen, I want to help. How can I help spread this message? And so they directed me to this website, DFI, Digital Future Initiatives, and you can actually go and get certified as a parent speaker. And then they give you this presentation, and the presentation is fantastic. So then you can then share that with other parents. And I've taken a lot of the information and put it in a bunch of my presentations. So anyway, I think that we have to find some way that we can get the message out to all of them differently.
Here's a question for everybody to that point. So let's start off. TikTok, it didn't get banned so far in this country. It's still here. What about meeting people on their own turf? And this is something I was thinking about as I was listening to everybody today. I'm getting asked to do a bunch of stuff on YouTube for not necessarily for awareness, a bunch of other things that we're doing as well. I'm getting asked up and stuff on that one. But I mean, what about things like, why don't we meet the kids where they are, the TikTok channels and other things like that? Would something like that benefit? I mean, I'm up for any thoughts on this one. Donna, Joanna, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, look at the influence TikTok had during election time with some of the people buying tickets, telling them to buy tickets and whatnot. I think they listen. I think if you put it on Facebook, the younger kids think that's not for them, that's for older people. YouTube, maybe. I have a 17-year-old, so he's really big on YouTube and gaming. So anything that comes from those sources that he already listens to, I mean, he listens to them 24/7 for the next PS5 game drop. If you throw in some service messages about hacking and phishing on those platforms, he's definitely going to listen.
Yeah, Joanna, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm all for meeting people where they are, because everyone has a preferred platform, and I think that has been the biggest struggle of the industry, because we all want to use what we know. We want to talk about it on LinkedIn, which is fine because there are people on LinkedIn that need to know it, but something like TikTok would reach the kids younger. And I think there is also this misconception that kids of this generation, because they're kids, they raise the computers, they understand how it works, and maybe they don't need as much education, which is not true at all, right? They know how to consume that data. They don't know how to protect themselves. They don't know a lot about it. And so I think oftentimes we just ignore them, but in most cases they could be that missing link, right? They could even share it with their parents. So what if we can make some dance moves for TikTok that educate somebody about security? It's not going to be my decision, but we need to find the people that can do those dance challenges, or make a viral challenge that goes out with that. what can we run ads? Who pays for the ads, right? Can we run ads to Twitch, to YouTube, to those different places that those kids can be mapped at, or even adults? So my mom uses WhatsApp a lot because they have family members, abroad. And so they use WhatsApp all the time. And there is so many links that are shared in there. Half of them are fake news, half of them are spam. How do we get that messaging to them as well? But it all starts with having somebody in the family that is able to say that. Like, my mom is overly secure. She does not click on any link. It does not matter. She called me the other day because somebody sent her a Zoom link to join. She said, Joanna, this woman sent me a Zoom link. Do you think it's okay for me to join the Zoom? I was like, yeah, I mean, like, Zoom is pretty legit, but that's how bad it is. But how do we get more people like that? She tells all her friends too all the time. But how do we get, we need people in every age category, and we need to meet them, whether it's on WhatsApp, Facebook, TikTok. So how do we go about building brand ambassadors? Because they're the ones that can really take that message and influence it, or cybersecurity influencers, right?
Yeah.
They're the ones that can really take that message out and spread it on the different platforms.
Got it.
But there's got to be a sense of
Sorry, Joanna.
I just want to add one little aspect to this really quickly. If that's the case, one of the things that especially would be really worthwhile is fighting security fatigue, right? It's the same as what we're going through right now with COVID fatigue, right? To an extent, people hear about it all the time. It's always, you need to be secure, you need to be secure, you need to be secure. I'm all for using those different platforms, but the magic sauce comes in what to say and how to present it to fight that fatigue, right? Everybody, a lot of people at this point have been hacked. Their Facebook account has been hacked. They've had their mail. That's fairly common now. So trying to find and be creative about ways to educate people and remind them, to me, that's the biggest challenge, especially when I'm dealing with employees, right? You're dealing with 600, 1,000 employees, 2,000. How do you keep them engaged versus saying the same things over and over and over? And the society right now is fatigued out with information, period. Yeah. So how do we make security cool again or interesting? Yeah. It's like the space shuttle that went up 25 times,
Yeah, no, that's true. That's why I love hanging out. To be honest, that's why I love doing these. And that's kind of the reason I'm hanging out with Gab. I'm pointing that way because Gabriel's over that way on my screen.
You're there.
That's why I'm hanging that way. That's why I'm hanging out with doing the Gabrielle stuff is because for me it's the short term bites, there's something interesting and it's kind of fun. But that's the same thing with Dana and the videos that she's doing. It's the same thing. It's short, sweet, to the point. Gabrielle, go for it. You probably want to say something at this point, and then I'll chime in with some other thoughts.
Yeah. So, we actually started with reaching out to some influencers on TikTok. I think it's important to not only go to those platforms, but generate content that is a good fit for that platform. There's different, you cannot just reuse content. You cannot just take content from LinkedIn and push it into TikTok. So we started to reach out. And by the way, there are people that are already doing that, doing actually security awareness and generic security on TikTok. So we have started to reach out to them. And one of the things that we're trying to promote is, people love to talk about a cause, think about climate change, right? So how do you take online safety and make out of that something that people actually care about? Because, like Al said, everybody got hacked to some degree. So we have to take that message through the platforms and through those people that already have followers and know how to generate content that is good for that and that is viral for that channel, and work with them. So this is something that we have already started to work on, and hopefully we will see that spreading on TikTok soon. So I'm really, really excited about it.
All right.
I just wanted to add. Oh, go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was gonna say I follow Dana and I love her content. I actually think her content will be a hit on TikTok because they're short and they're sweet and they have great visuals. So I think we should get Dana on TikTok.
Dana, you heard it here. You heard it.
Well, I was thinking along the lines, not necessarily me, but I think with the kids, like I look at my kids and the crazy, ridiculously stupid stuff that they watch on YouTube or on TikTok. I mean, this is the dumbest things that people are doing that you could ever imagine. I'm sure you've all seen it. So for whatever reason, they like that kind of stuff. So if we could get with somebody like that could add some kind of humor to this. I mean, that's what I try to do, is add humor to a very not funny, topic. And if they could do that, I do think the kids would pay attention to that. So that's awesome, Gabrielle, that you're doing that at over on TikTok, reaching out to the influencers.
So what I want in that case at the moment is I want Dana and Gabrielle to do the content. I want Al to come in there and help make sure it's sensible. I want Donna Smith to actually build it so it's marketable for everybody. Joanna, you and I, we're just going to push the hell out of this thing. I think that's just our job at this point. All right, problem solved. We did it in 25 minutes. All right, let's knock off a couple of
and I'm in Clubhouse, and so Clubhouse is the hottest new social media platform, and it is audio only, and there are some incredible conversations happening in there. It's invite only at this time for only iPhone users, but this could also be a conversation that can get started in there, because so far I've spent way too many hours in those rooms, but there's some really deep conversations happening and innovative ideas and stuff like that. So I would say I would bring all of you in the room, but I can't because I got to invite you and I don't have any invites left. But but what I can do is we can start that conversation with that new group of folks that don't like to be on video, but they like to talk, and kind of see what they're doing in their spaces, and maybe how we can partner. I've had some partnerships with people on Clubhouse over like different business ideas and stuff like that, that we can then bring out to the other side of the world and make it bigger. So that's just something out there.
So this brings up a question, and it's something, so I'm doing some stuff with the ITSP folks, and we're going to start doing a podcast on the time machine. Going to have some fun with it, cause chaos with it. But what I'm trying to wrestle with is, can I take that content, which is going to be generated on their platform, move it to YouTube? Can I then do it on like all these other platforms? Is there a way of taking this message? To Al's point, it's got to be fresh content. It's got to be something that isn't the same old, don't click shit, don't send shit, don't do this. It's got to be like, it's the Dana thing. It's trying to make something interesting. Can we basically do it once and distribute wide? Has anybody seen any success on being able to do anything along those lines? At least make it easier so that we're not doing it. Gabrielle, go for it.
I think it's honestly hard. Every platform has their own audience that is expecting something. That's why we see people sometimes, commenting on LinkedIn. This is not Facebook, and the same goes on other platforms. You expect a certain type of content on every platform, and people go to be entertained on Instagram, for example, and they go to maybe learn on LinkedIn, and that's why they use. And most of the time when you just take the content and repurpose it, just change the size, you're not really paying attention to what people are expecting. So the people that really, or the companies that really are successful, are the ones that are actually generating content that fits that platform. And that's a lot of work, by the way, but it's worth it, because just putting the content out there, yes, it will get the likes and the follows, but it wouldn't really resonate well. So that's my thought, in general about, content for platforms.
Got it.
So what we can do though is what we can do is we can have like a baseline maybe of what the content should be about, and then we can have the people that's the specialty for each platform, right? We can have a person that's good on TikTok take that message. So if it was like, Word document of all kinds of stuff or video, they can take a little bit of it and make sense of it for TikTok. And then another person can take a little bit of it and make sense for it for LinkedIn. And it will be, the base is still the same, it's just a presentation. So we don't have to keep recreating the exact same thing all the time.
Right. That's, I think, something that will be huge. Dana, messaging from David. How do we find your videos? Can you just let David know how we find you, or how he finds your videos?
Well, you could go onto LinkedIn and put my name in there, and they come up there. They're also on Facebook, which is it's under Identron Protection, I think it is. I'd have to look it up, but I've got to get in a better habit of putting more over there on Facebook, because I usually just put them on LinkedIn. So, but LinkedIn, everything is on LinkedIn.
Got it. Al, go for it. For some reason, you got muted. You're in good shape now.
Thank you. I was in timeout. I thought you put me in the corner for a reason or something. I was just going to add to say, it's like I typically tell our CISO a lot, right? We got to make more apostles, right? We got to proselytize better, right? He's one person, or she's, one woman. You can't go out and preach the message all the time, and you got to find more evangelists, right? We got to take it from a centralized message to everybody, preaching the gospel of security to the masses, versus concentrating on making more evangelists, more security evangelists, and really trying to identify. Now, this is a lot of work, but identifying who those potential people are, right? Who can those evangelists be? I don't know if you start a group on one of these social platforms. I'm not on a whole lot of different social platforms, really, other than LinkedIn, but the TikToks and all that. What are those little groups? And then really focusing on those groups to how they can expand the message, instead of finding the same people to send the message. There have been many times where I haven't used our security manager to send a message to a department. I get an evangelist from that department and actually let them do a lunch and learn. The feedback from them, the attention span is a lot quicker. How do we get more apostles? Not security experts, just more folks that can carry the word that you should do X, and that's always the thing that I'm thinking about here. As you said that, it kind of brought me to that point.
So that brings me back to Donna, that you're up on this one, because I mean, if we can take the general knowledge that we have, hand it to somebody who can massage it and take it, and I hate to say it, get it out to people in such a way that they can understand it, the marketing side of it, the understanding, the awareness, that distribution channel to get the message out there. I mean, that's your way, Haas. What do we do?
I definitely think that marketing can help, and I love the ideas with TikTok and YouTube that go along with it. But I almost go back to Gabriel's point of stories and making it more relatable, even if it's within a household conversation, a family conversation, or on the YouTube or different social media platforms. Connect it to a story, not just make it a public service announcement that's either scolding or teaching, whatnot. People don't want to hear that. To Al's point, they're fatigued. Connect it with a story. At our house, what I like to do is say at the table, hey, did you hear that Uncle so-and-so got all his money stolen last year when he went online shopping? Or cousin so-and-so did this and clicked on this link. What about you guys? Do you know any of your friends or any of your family members that got impacted by, a phishing scam or online shopping scams? So that gets people talking, and it gets them to remember it, and it hits home a little bit more to them when they can associate it with someone. And if you don't have a story in your household, maybe a personal relative it happened to, talk about a celebrity, to your teenagers. How many celebrities got their pictures hacked and shared online? Or everyone's been a culprit at some point. So make it relatable to them, where they pay attention, they are interested to something like that.
Here's a question, and it's something Gabrielle and I were talking about this yesterday afternoon, is the pushback. And it was one of those, you and I had a long conversation about this as I was driving down the road.
Easy, yeah.
Yeah, it's the pushback. I mean, we've both got Tina, you've got Tina. I mean, there's a couple of us who've got Rugrats that are at that, I know everything, and you're like, no, you don't. How much of that is each one of you seeing from either the family, the parents, the teenagers, or the people around you? I'm interested in that one. And then as a part follow-up, I'm interested in how to overcome that, because that's huge. Al, I'm going to hit you up from the business/awareness side of it, and then we'll just work backwards and forwards if you don't mind.
Absolutely. You know, the tough thing for me is always trying to put it in a cost benefit perspective, right, for senior executives, right? And security is one of those things that's a tough thing to show cost benefit to it. The only thing that I have, one of the tools in my toolbox that I use, is I tell my CEO all the time, well, if something happens and we go on CNN, I'll make sure I tell them you said that, right? The bottom line is that sometimes there has to be an emotional tie to this from a corporate standpoint, and it has to be a reputation standpoint. Because sometimes the only competitive advantage that we do have with our competitors is the fact that our clientele can trust us. So I use that quite frequently as a leverage, but that is a hurdle that is sometimes difficult to cross when you're talking about spending hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on security, and how does that benefit the company. So what I try to do is even look back to see the fact that we haven't had any large breaches. I look back to the fact that how we've been able to operate, and really that's the only leverage that I can use sometimes. But it's really getting the emotional and psychological buy-in a lot of times to senior exec about what direction we need to go in.
It does seem to be, I mean, I want to hit everybody else on this one as well, but it unfortunately seems to be the case that the only time people pay attention
is when something happens.
When shit happens. I mean, I've talked about this for so many freaking years. You know, as kids, we walk into the kitchen, don't touch it, it's hot, don't do this, it's hot. What do? We touch it, we burn, and then we learn. We learn through experience. In the digital world, we can't do that. We can't let people do that because the consequences are so high.
That's right, and you have to be willing to put skin in the game too, and that's a time. Some people don't want to extend that political capital in a company, right? Because you're having to look at people who are signing a check and tell them, hey, I'm not doing it, or you can't do this, or that won't work. But you have to be able to stand your ground. And Chris, you know me, I don't have any issue doing it. I don't care if you're the chairman of the board or the CEO, and I would say if it was right here, this is not what's going to help us in the long run. What you choose to do is different, but from an operational perspective, this can't happen. But it's difficult to navigate that landscape.
Totally. Joanna, give me some thoughts on this one. So how the hell do we get through to people without them having to suffer?
Yeah, so that's been the biggest struggle with cybersecurity, right? Because it's not, a lot of people don't feel like it's tangible. I don't see it, I don't feel it. And even a lot of times, credit card companies have made this a lot simpler. If I get scammed and put my credit card in something, I can call my credit card company, dispute my charges, get my money back, and get a brand new card. And people think that's it. So to them, it doesn't seem like it's that much to worry about. You know, before we used to be like, oh, you know, your kid's photos is going to end up on all these other places. And they're like, well, my kid's photos is already on all these other places. What do I care? And I think it's still digging into those stories that are a little bit closer to home. And I think we've grown the industry and hurt ourselves a little bit because we've done such a good job in putting things in place to kind of fix the problem which happens, at least to the layman understanding. So unless somebody actually wakes up one day and $100 million is drained out of the account, which they never had before, you know, a lot of people don't have a lot of money sitting in their bank account. So they're like, okay, my bank got drained, I had $100. So like, why should I care? So we just find those stories that are closer to home and share it with them. And then also celebrate the things that we have accomplished. Like, because we have done this much work, this is why you're not seeing as much impact as you would have. Because I think sometimes we don't talk about those wins, and so people don't really feel like we've been doing anything. So at the same breath that we are talking about the problems, we should talk about all the solutions that we've provided so far, all the things that they can do now because of the work that has been done in the industry, so that they understand that it didn't just go away or it was just minimal. But as we celebrate that, they would get to understand it more and relate to it and make more sense of it. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. Dana, some thoughts on this one as well. You know, it's how do we get people to learn without harming them in the first place, or watching them get harmed in the first place?
Well, I think I have two quick things I want to mention. So first of all, you know, let's just talk about the security in the country right now. We have not, knock on wood, had an attack like 9/11 since 9/11, and that's because of all of the hard work that's going on behind the scenes. But people don't think about that. People aren't thinking about, oh, I bet they're doing this today. Oh, I bet they don't even realize that maybe that something was thwarted, that there was a possibility of something happening. So it's that ignorance is bliss kind of thing that people, exactly what you're talking about, until something happens, that's when they're thinking of it. And then one other thing I wanted to talk about was with the kids, with this online, and everybody has 4,000 friends, connections, whatever you want to call them, followers, and that's very, very dangerous. I tell my kids this all the time. They think I'm crazy. I said, you don't know all those people. You've never met all those people. And I can guarantee you that you have at least one creepy person in there that is pretending to be somebody else. You know, I always talk to them about their friends, these little bikini pictures that they're putting on all over the place. It's terrible. And especially with these tracking apps, you know, like Snapchat, literally your quote unquote friends can pinpoint, if it was a football game in the stadium, it will show you exactly where that kid is sitting. And that is like, talk about, you can just see where they are. You know, these kids, they can see if they're by themselves, if they're with other people. So I think that's there's a lot of risk there that with trafficking that kids have no idea about, and they need to be taught about that stuff. But first we need to get them to believe that these are real actual risks.
The Snapchat one is very, very close to home. I got dragged into a missing child case 6 months ago or something like that. And thankfully I managed to get into her Snapchat account and tracked all of her stuff as to where she'd been. And I'm telling the family and the police this, and you can just see their eyes are going this. How can that happen? How can we allow that? You signed up for this shit, you downloaded it, as did millions of others. You know, congratulations, you are the product. You know, and it was great. We ended up finding the kid, and the individual who was with the kid is now no longer on the streets. But you know, at the end of the day, it's for good or for bad. That was, and TikTok's the same way. I mean, they're all the bloody same. But we keep downloading them because they don't appear to do us any harm. You know, this is the fight I have with my kid. Not really a fight. This is the conversation I have with my Rugrat. She's downloaded some of the stuff because she's like, look, I want to be aware. I want to know what's going on. I want somebody to make recommendations to me. But if it crosses a certain line, at that point in time, now I'm going to have a problem with it. I'm like, well, it's probably already too far past that and you don't know about it. And to your point, all the friends, how the hell do you know that, to your point, that more than one creepy person, let's be perfectly honest, given the ratio at the moment, we have a lot to try to figure out. Gabrielle, do you want to say something? Go for it.
Yeah, you know, one of those pushbacks that I get a lot is that people say that they want to be tracked. It sounds crazy, but they want personalized ads, you know, like when you talk to them, they're like, yeah, you know, track me. I have nothing to lose. So, you know, the more you know about me, the more you can personalize the service, the ads, and, you know, that's the baseline. So now start from that, you know, that's a hard one. And we did a video, you know, when we spoke about it a lot, and we have this single video that I really, really like. We called it, you know, from 1 in a million to 1 in 1. How, you know, how it starts with, you know, information in my phone about my friends, about what I like. How is that getting leaked or stolen? And then, you know, I become a target. So before that, I was part of a, you know, email blast. Now they know something about me. Now I become, you know, a target, and that happens quick. So, but people don't connect those dots. They are okay with being tracked, and they don't think about
the point. They are until the point. I mean, Joanna, you're right. I mean, my daughter's in the same boat. She wants her personalized stuff from American Eagle and all the other places, and that's great up until the point that, you know, when she goes to go for healthcare, or goes to get her own healthcare, like, well, I'm ever so sorry, but we're actually going to decline you because you spent money here, you did this here, which probably indicates that you have a heart problem or you have a pre-existing condition that we don't want to touch. Or the employer goes, well, you shopped over here too much, we don't want to use you over here. It's like, that's happening. How do we, there's no step, and by the time you're like, well, I don't want that to happen, too freaking late. Your ass has been dragging in the breeze for the last X number of years. All the data's out there about you. I don't know.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I think healthcare is one of those things that's a complete different topic. But I would speak for all the millennials that are lazy shoppers. Being tracked is so great because I didn't even know that I needed that cute blazer until it found me. So my shopping is so much easier now. I don't have to spend hours looking for it. I can just be reading the news and I know that the right item that I'm looking for is going to pop up. Like, it's a free personal assistant.
The enemy is crying. The enemy is cringe. I get it. I totally get it. But I'm just like this at the same time. I cry.
And
but I
the
get
sad
it.
part is I understand all the risks and I still am okay. I'm not okay with it. I don't want criminals to get in and all of that good stuff, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have an answer for this one.
Oh, no, there isn't one. That's, you know, if I could, I'm actually with you. If I could trust that Amazon, when I went into Amazon, just kept Amazon stuff inside Amazon, I'd be happy with it. If I could trust that my fucking ISP, when I go searching for a watch, kept that shit to itself, and, you know, Comcast, Quest, and Xfinity didn't sell my shit to every damn provider known to mankind, I'd be okay with it.
But we like buying your data, Chris.
Oh, God.
Please continue. Go ahead.
No shit. And then it just goes and it leaks, and all of a sudden my data that was maybe safe-ish in this one place is, because the third party of the third party didn't keep it safe, is now splattered across the bloody internet. That's where the problem is. We can't keep stuff in one place, and I think people don't think about that.
Well,
Donna,
are there
Dana,
laws?
no, go for it.
Are there laws that can stop these companies from sharing data? Is that a lobby? Like, could we lobby for that?
I thought we were going to shoot all the lobbyists. I thought that was the idea, to get rid of all those buggers.
I mean, they have a purpose.
Yeah.
If we can have the
go
lobby
for that.
for us, no problem.
They're good at making reefs of the coral barrier. Go for it, Donna.
I was just going to say, I think, to Joanna's point, it may be for us, you know, because we're educated on the fact that that happens and why it happens on our stream, and people are buying our data. But I think more so about my son, who just got a bank card within this year and has a job, and he's more influenced by that type of, you know, those marketing tactics, by the advertising, or even the person, the adult out there with a shopping problem. You know, when those things just keep popping up, they need to understand that it's not just coincidence. It's not fate. You know, they were meant to buy that sweater or that video game. You know, that there's many processes behind that and reasons that pops up specifically for them, and to be aware of those dangers and not just be easily influenced by them.
And to your point, Joan, I guess the closest thing we have right now in the U.S. Would be CCPA, right? The California Consumer Protection Act. That would probably be the closest that we had right now. And a little bit before that would be GDPR, but
Right.
that at least lends itself to at least start mapping, but we're still not there.
Not there by a long stretch, and I don't think we're going to get there either, which is part of the problem. I think the other frustration is going to hit us is you got California's going to do its thing, and then another state's going to do its thing, and all of a sudden we're back to this stupidity of every single damn state's going to be its own fiefdom, rather than some overarching government saying one set of rules, one set of compliances, one set of legislations, end of discussion, get over it. We're all one country. That's where it should be. That's what, again, it pisses me off with all of the IU, PCI, HIPAA, FERC, healthcare. No, one set of rules. Take care of everybody's freaking data. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox. Dana, give us some thoughts on this one. How the heck do we get out of this pickle that we've got ourselves into? For crying out loud, help us with the tech people, please.
I don't know. And like we were just talking about, it makes everything easier. And, you know, and again, in that website that I was talking about, the DFI, that presentation where they talk about the data and how Facebook knows you better. If you have 150 likes, Facebook knows you better than your family. And with 300 likes, it knows you better than your spouse. I mean, the data that we are sending out there every single day, it's a little bit here, a little bit there, and they just love it. And they sell it and they make money on it. And they know every single thing about us, every single thing. I think it was the CEO of Google said, we don't even need people to even type anymore. We already know what they're looking for. It's kind of crazy. So nuts. I don't know how it stops. I don't even see it getting better before it gets really, really bad. And something crazy happens, like some crazy, everybody's affected by some breach or something like that. I don't know.
I'm with you. All right, so we have got 4 minutes left in this. We hit the top of the hour. I would love from each of you, if you don't mind, like a closing thought on what are you going to tell your family and how do we try to keep our own families and our communities safer? So a closing thought or two from each of you, if you don't mind, please. Joanna, I'll start with you if you don't mind.
Oh, that's great, since my computer just went to hell.
Right.
Everyone can still hear me?
Yep, you good.
Okay, good. I would continue doing what I'm doing, encouraging my family members to double check the sites that they're clicking on. If it sounds too good to be true, then it's probably not true. Believe that there is a gut feeling when you see that something is on sale for $5.99 that's usually $99. You get that gut feeling, and usually you just push through. So listen more to your gut, and then do a quick fact check. Just make sure it's legitimate before you make a purchase. And if you do fall for that scam, call your credit card company, change your passwords, do all that stuff, change your email, whatever you need to do. And my business owners, to a lot of the sites that they use, because this is another thing that business owners get this time of the year: stolen credit cards, and it's high fraud, and eventually they get a dispute and they lose all that money. So for my business owners to pay attention to their store analytics, as well as if you're on Shopify, for example, it would tell you that this payment has a high risk for fraud. So pay attention to that and don't fulfill that order just to be safe.
Cool.
Awesome. And otherwise, run ads for everyone. Run ads to this kid that talks about cybersecurity. I just have to figure out who pays for it.
Yeah. Donna, you're up.
Sure. 3 quick tips. I actually gave my son because, again, PS5, trying to get it for this season. So I reminded him, if he gets an email, check the from address. Just because it says it's from Best Buy, check to see where it's really coming from. I guarantee it's probably, if it's $2.99, it's not from Best Buy. Do a review if you're buying, or Google search if you're buying from a site you've never heard of. Big thing in our house I've taught him is just Google or look on scamadvisor.com. It's a really good site that we use. It tells you the trust score of the website, positive highlights, negative highlights on it, and a pretty good gauge of whether it's a legitimate site or not. And last but not least, I would say just buy from trusted sites. Again, like Joanna said, if something's way cheaper at buyitfromme.com, it's probably not a legitimate site. So those are the key tips from our house.
Awesome. Thank you. Dana, you're up.
All right, I know we're getting close on time here. So my biggest thing I would say, my one tip would be when everybody's doing all this online shopping, when you start getting the emails from quote unquote Amazon or FedEx or anything, delivery notifications, to not click, tell everyone not to click on those links, to literally go to Amazon, go to FedEx and log into your account that way. If there's any kind of a question or anything you're being looked at, don't click on any of those things because you don't need to, because that's obviously a big hot button with scams.
Cool. And do me a favor, your site again. Where can we find you for the stuff?
Identityprotectionplanning.com is my website.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Al, you're up, sir.
It's all been said. The only thing I'll add is just resist fatigue. Resist the fatigue. The panelists have said it perfectly, very knowledgeable. Only thing I'll say is just resist the fatigue to go through the steps that has been mentioned by Dana and Donna and Joanna. Resist the fatigue to do it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Gabrielle, any last words, sir?
Yeah, so remember, scammers use some of the same techniques that marketers are using. So you cannot trust ads, for example, just because they are on Facebook or Google or any other social media. Buy from sites that you have bought before and have a good experience. I usually don't like to buy directly from Facebook, from the ads. So, use those sites that you have experience with. Maybe it's a good time anyways to freeze your kid's social security just in case. And yeah, pay attention to some, QR codes or anything that hides where you're going. So always be aware and verify, make sure it's your responsibility to verify that, the company or the person you're talking with.
All right, so I'll say some final words, two sets of final words. First and foremost, question more, believe less. That would be my big thing. If something is emotionally charging you, either positive or negative, take a step back, take a breath, think. And then to everybody else's point on this one. So hugely appreciated. Thanks for everybody for joining. Sorry for some of the technical shenanigans. Some amazing questions. I've tried to beat my way through a whole bunch of these ones so far while we've been talking. I'm hugely appreciative of you guys joining us on the crazy holiday week. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and let's spread the message. And thank you very, very much. It's been another Wiser webinar, and I look forward to doing this one again. Try and get hold of everybody again and get everybody next time. Take care, stay safe. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Guys.